The Book of Timothy, chapter 1 and verse 14. Not giving heed to Jewish fables and commandments of men that turn from the truth. Shalom, brothers and sisters. This is your brother, Hawaii. I want to give all praise and glory to Yahawashi, Yahweh being the name of our Heavenly Father, Yahawashi being the name of the Son. Peace, mercy, and blessings to you abound to the hopeful elect scattered throughout the four corners of the earth that have received the baptism for the remission of sins according to the scriptures and the will of the Heavenly Father, who made it a counsel, beginning with John the Baptist, the word spoken that he should make way, prepare the way for the Lord and make his path straight. And in this time, calling on all those that have faith to continue to believe in the gospel, for we're nearing the end of the world. Wanted to go into this lesson. I've been meaning to do this for some time. Just continuation of the lesson concerning the fables to beware of, and one of those is concerning, the Book of Enoch. So we're going to go into this, and hopefully this is edifying to you, brothers and sisters, to get a better understanding of why, according to precept upon precept, why the Book of Enoch that is out today is in error. So I'm going to go to this website that actually has the Book of Enoch. We're going to actually go into chapter 6, dealing with the topic of the fallen angels, as they say. And we're going to prove that this particular doctrine, that there were fallen angels that laid with mankind on earth, meaning the daughters of men, and had babies with them, is actually a false doctrine. Okay, so this right here, in fact, I'm going to read this right here, which is pretty much giving you a summary of this particular set of chapters from chapter 6 to 11, but we're just going to look at chapter 6 for the sake of comparison with the book of Genesis. So it says here, the fall of the angels, the demoralization of mankind, the intercession of the angels on behalf of mankind, the dooms pronounced by God on the angels in the Messianic kingdom. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start off at verse 1. Again, this is the Book of Enoch, chapter 6. So verse 1, it says, and it came to pass, when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, let us choose us wives from among the children of men, and beget us children. And Simjaza, who was their leader, said unto them, I fear ye will not indeed agree to do this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. And they all answered him and said, let us all swear an oath, and all bind ourselves by mutual imprecations, not to abandon this plan, but to do this thing. Then swore they all together and bound themselves by mutual interpretation. So they basically swore upon it. And they were in all 200, and who descended in the days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon. And they called it Mount Hermon, because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. And these are the names of their leaders. And you can read this if you want to, but you get what we're trying to summarize here. So basically the main thing is in the beginning part, that the belief in the doctrine of the Book of Enoch is that the angels had came down and had gotten them basically daughters of the children of men. Okay, and this is what is basically believed out there in many of the Christian circles. Like we said, this is a Jewish fable. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to basically go into the proper interpretation, which is found in the scriptures. So now we're going to go to Genesis chapter 6, starting at verse 1. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. Okay, so this is the issue here, is now we're going to have to identify who the sons of God are. Okay, because if they were angels, the scripture actually will always tell you when the people that are in the scriptures are angels, okay, or whether or not they are the sons of God. So we're going to keep going down. Verse 3. And Yahweh said, my spirit shall not strive with man, for that he is also is flesh, yet his day shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. Okay, so now there it goes again. The sons of God went unto the daughters of men. So now understanding is that you have to now look into how do we define who the sons of God are. But first, we're going to go into this issue with giants, because many people also go into this word giant and they believe that it's referring to, giant overgrown men that are, 300 or hundreds of times size of regular man. So here you go. And that word there is Nepalia. Okay. So Nepal, which we're going to go into that word, but it says here, because this is the outline of the biblical usage, the giants and the Nephilim. Okay, so in this particular case, it says here another outline. It says Strong's definition, properly a feller, a bully, or a tyrant, a giant. So you go in here, remember, it tells you they became men of renown, meaning men that had fame, well known. When your name is big in the earth, it's like you're big, and you're a big personality, you're a big person. That's what they call people even today's time. That their name is big in the earth. They have a big personality. They're well known. Now, in this case, we're going to just kind of read what it says here. So it says that the giants, so all the ancient virgins, and this is from the Chaldees lexicon, because that's one of the roots of the Hebrew language. It says the giant in the sky, the constellation Orion. The etymology of this word is uncertain. Now, as we go on, it says that some have compared, which Gig and Cass render great, large in body, but this is incorrect. For it means excellent, noble, skillful. Okay, because the sons of God became men of renown because of their nobility and their skill. Okay, in those times. Okay, which that was how it was. The line that was known as the sons of God became men of renown, notable for their excellency, their nobility, and their skill. Continuing on, it says, I prefer with the Hebrew interpreters falling on, attacking, so that is. It says, so those who would use the interpretation passage of Genesis of the fall of the angels were accustomed to render fallers, rebels, apostates. Okay, and we're going to show you that. So as we go on, I'm going to show you something that I used last week in one of the lessons. We're going to go to that John Gill, okay, because this is one of the earlier Bible commentaries that was made going back into the late, I believe, 18th century. Okay, and it's going to kind of go into that as well. Now, as we're reading the Book of Enoch, it was brought up in the times of Jared, right, where that particular name is coming from, right? So I'm going to go ahead and start at the top of this. Now, again, you see here John Gill's exposition of the Bible. Okay, now they're not always correct, but we're going to show you not only is he correct in this interpretation, but we're also going to go into precepts concerning this particular answer that he had. So it says, they were giants in the earth in those days. That is, in the days before the sons of God took the daughters of men for wives, in such a manner as before declared, and before declension and apostasy became so universal. So you see here that it was talking about apostasy. That's what the word Nepal means, is to fall. When you fall, you fell away from the truth. Now, I'm going to go into this as well, because we didn't go into the root word, because this particular word is being used in the noun sense, okay, in the form of a noun, meaning to describe a person. Now, we're going to go into the actual action of that word Nepal, right? So, as we go into that, the word Nepal, okay, which is the root word. When you go into the use in the KJV, it says to fall down, cast down, fall away. Okay, that's what it means to be an apostate. Okay, to be an apostate means to fall away. Now, we read the word apostate. What I'm going to do, we're going to go ahead and go into the etymology. Okay, so apostate means one who forsakes his religion or faith. Now, what was the original faith and religion of the sons of God? Okay, we know this. We'll get into that. We'll show you that there was an original faith that existed during the time of leading up to Noah's time. Okay, from the time of Adam all the way up until this point, there was an actual faith that existed that the line of the sons of God believed in. Okay, now it says here, one who forsakes his religion or faith, defection, rebellion. Okay, didn't you see in the etymology it had the word rebel? Okay, rebellion, to defect, to stand off, and then we're going to get that word for rebellion, right? So rebellion, let's see, yeah, because as you see here, fallers, okay, because we saw the word fall, and then apostates, rebels. Okay, so same thing that's being described in this particular etymology of the word apostate. Okay, in fact, we can probably click on apostasy and let's see what happens. So apostasy is renunciation, abandonment, or neglect, okay, of the establishment religion. Okay, and it says revolt, defection, okay, to stand away. All right, now there's other scriptures as well that even go into that same thing, because what a lot of people understand is that the reason why there were issues before the flood is in part because of the fall of the sons of God, okay, which allowed for other people or other things, other ways of living on the earth. Okay, because if you have a set of people that are ruling in righteousness, okay, and they have dominion over the earth, and there's a particular family line that has that. Once they fall away from that, all chaos ensues on the earth, and that's where the great wickedness came from. And by the time Noah's generation came, okay, when you get to this generation, wickedness had exceedingly polluted the earth. You had much violence and much, basically, wickedness going on the earth, to the point where the Most High decided to destroy the earth with the flood and only save 8 souls. And that's how the judgment came about. So you have to understand, why is the world in the condition that they're in today? The reason why the world's in the condition it's in today, because a line of men had fallen away from the true knowledge, and it allowed for wickedness to then reign on the earth, and that's why we're in the same position as what happened in the times of Noah. Okay, so we have to always understand that this is a process by which you can see this occurring again and again. Okay, so as we go on, in fact, we'll go ahead and read some more on this one. So of course we want to fall away. Now this is from the word Nepal, okay, which is the root word that goes into Nepalia, or the giants, the Nephilim, as some people call them, right? So as we go on, it says to fall, to be cast down, to or fail. Okay, and that's essentially what happened. Okay, when you fall away, when the sons of God began to fall away, that's what they were being known as, and that's what they're known as in their particular generation, the ones that fell away, okay, from what? The true faith and the true knowledge that the Most High had given us. So when we go back into the Bible commentary, we can continue reading on down. Okay, so we were just here, or before the declension and apostasy became universal, even in the times of Jared, and the Arabic writers understand it, who say that these giants were begotten of the daughters of Cain by the children of Seth, who went down from the mountain in the days of Jared. Now, they're really getting this really from the Book of Enoch, okay, which the writers, people like Muslims and other religions that would try and use these type of sources as a means to justify what they thought was really happening, but that's not even in the scriptures, okay? So if we move on, it says, see Genesis 5:20. The word Nephilim comes from the word which signifies to fall, and these might be so called either because they made their fear to fall upon men, or to fall, or men through fear to fall before them because of their height and strength, or rather, okay, so they're gonna go into the different reasons why they would be named Nephilim, okay, or rather because they fell and rushed on men with great violence and oppressed them in cruel and tyrannical manner, or as some think, because they fell off and were apostates from the true religion. Now, this particular wording was used back in the late 18th century. What is said right now in Israel, whenever somebody goes back into the world, what do they say? Man, that person fell off. Okay, so this shows you that even we're using Old English language when we talk about what happens in our time. How much more in the times before the flood? You see, what a lot of times what people do is, a lot of times people try and put this mystical aspect about the world prior to the flood, as if the world prior to the flood is any different than it was now. Just like it says in the scriptures, these things have been of old time. There is nothing new under the sun. So what happens is a lot of people try and mystify this world that existed before the flood as if some of the same exact things was not happening prior to the flood. Okay, so you had people that were on, their dads were on, they were doing the right thing, their sons came along, and then what? They began to what? Fall off, fall away. All right. All right. So as we go on, this is exactly what this really means. Okay. I'm gonna highlight it real quick so you can see what this really means. This is what it means to be a Nephilim, to be a fallen one. That's essentially what they were. Okay. Now let's go into the identity of these fallen ones. So it says here, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, they came into the houses and chambers, and they lay with them, and they bare children unto them, or giants unto them, as may be supplied from the former clause. It says, for the sense is, as they were giants before this general defection, so there were at this time when they was a mixture of Cainites and Sethites, which were the offspring of the sons of God. Okay, so the Cainites is basically the children of Cain. Okay, like we talked about before on the block about the fact that there was other nations of men on the earth, but we know the line that was followed, and that was really primarily followed, would have been the lines of Cain and the lines of Seth. Okay, and so what they're saying is that, I'm gonna highlight it again, the Sethites, okay, which were what? The offspring of the sons of God, or the posterity of Seth. Okay, so it's linking Seth with the line and offspring of the sons of God. Now, you know what's the thing about this is the fact that in Genesis chapter 6, when you go back in Genesis chapter 6, it is not noted that these sons of God were the line of Seth. It didn't note it directly, right? But it notes it indirectly, and we'll show you how indirectly Seth's line is noted as the line of the sons of God. Okay, so what we're going to do to show you that the sons of God were the descendants of Seth, I'm going to go to Genesis, okay, chapter 1, and we're going to deal with the creation of man, okay, which would be Adam, the primary man that was created in this particular chapter. So we're going to go to Genesis chapter 1 and verse 26. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God made man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. And God blessed them and said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish and of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moved upon the earth. So Adam was told to be fruitful and multiply and subdue the earth and have dominion over everything. Okay? And who would have dominion over everything? It'll be his sons after him. Okay? But Adam was first given that rulership to subdue and have dominion over all these things in the earth. Okay? Now, as we know, as time came along, we know what happened in the garden. The sin that entered led to what? The Adam and Eve going off, and then of course the enmity between the seed of the serpent and the seed of the woman, and then you have the later on coming in with Cain killing Abel, right? So we're not gonna go into the Cain and Abel piece, but we have to bring it in order to go into this next part, because the line that would have continued would have been the righteous line that would have continued through Abel, as we know that the Most High had likeness unto his works over Cain's works, but Cain, out of jealousy, slew him. So what did the Most High do? He had to bring forth another son. Okay, now remember, in Genesis chapter 1 verse 26, Adam was made in the image, okay, and the likeness of God, right? So we're going to go on to Genesis chapter 5. Genesis chapter 5 and 1. This is the book of the generations of Adam. Okay, in the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him. Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam, in the day when they were created. Okay? Now remember, created after his image, right? And his likeness. Okay? So it says here, and Adam lived 130 years and begat a son in his own likeness after his image, and called his name Seth. So you see that there was a transfer of the image and likeness, meaning the expression, the characteristics, okay, onto Seth, the same ones that he got from the Most High. Okay, so when you go into it, that word for Seth means, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, means consolation or replacement. Okay, so we'll just go on that for the sake of edification. And remember, like we read before in the commentary, the sons of God were noted as being coming through the line of Seth. So yeah, compensation. So Seth means compensation or substitute. All right. So it says here, this is in the Jacinius Hebrew Chaldees lexicon. So it says the third son of Adam. And the first passage is derived from placing and setting in the stead of another. Okay, so he basically sat in the stead of his brother Abel, who was killed, and that's the reason why the line of the sons of God ended up continuing. So now what we're going to do is we're going to piece it all together with one verse from the book of Luke to show you the direct line of the sons of God that eventually led to the sons of God in Genesis chapter 6, in which they began to fall away, right? So this is Luke chapter 3 and verse 38. Which was the son of Enos, which was the son of Seth, which was the son of Adam, which was the son of God. All right. So you see there, you got to look at it from backwards. Okay. So you got to look at it from this standpoint. You have the Most High, Yahweh, right? Then he created, okay, in Adam. And then that line from the Most High to Adam went to Seth. And that's the reason why Seth, right here, you see here, Seth is directly linked to the Most High. And those descendants that came through that same line, okay, before the flood, were all known as the sons of God because they were the only ones that were created and made in the likeness of his image. Okay, meaning his characteristics, basically, like they would say out there, the God gene. Okay, that's where it continued on through. That's literally the God gene line on earth. All right, it was at that time through the sons of Seth, who were known, all right, as the sons, okay, of God, all right, or the Sethites. And we're speaking from a scholarly standpoint. Sethite is what they would be, the descendants of Seth, right? This because it's all a Sethite means the descendant of Seth. So we're going to show you that this particular line had a connection to the Most High and why you could say that they fell away. So we're going to go back to Genesis chapter 4. We're going to go down to when Seth was born. So verse 25. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son, and called his name Seth. For Yahweh, said she, hath appointed another seed instead of Abel, whom Cain slew. So in the stead of Abel, Seth was born. Now verse 26. And to Seth, to him also was born a son, and he called his name Enos, which we just read. Then began men to call upon the name of Yahweh. Okay, and who were the men that were calling on this name? It was them. Okay, because now they had to call, because of the sin that entered into the world, now men had to go out of their way to then call upon the name of Yahweh, which is the line of Seth. So this is where faith actually had to be put in place. Faith had to be put in place at this level, in part because faith is believing in something you can't see. Now you got to start calling upon this power that was withdrawing himself from the line of Seth. Okay, and then that's where the true religion, okay, was really formed. Okay, during that time, meaning men began to call upon him. Okay, and when you call upon, that's the word ecclesia. Ecclesia means to call out. Okay, that's what church really means. It means to call out. So that's when men began to call out and basically call upon the name of the Lord. And that's when you can say the true faith around this particular time. All right, now remember, Adam was alive at this time as well. Okay, just like when Seth was born and Enos was born. So, but they were all began to call, okay, men, plural, called upon the name. So now going back again to wrap it all up, let's go back to Genesis chapter 6 so we can kind of remember this again. Okay, so this is the same line, verse 4. There were giants, which is Nephilim, meaning those that fell away, the apostates, those that rebelled against the true religion, the true faith, right, in the earth in those days. And also after that, when the sons of God, okay, like we showed you, the Most High, Adam, Seth, and then of course we went into Enos, came in unto the daughters of men, which would be the other nations. Okay, this, like it said in the commentary, you had the Cainites, or the descendants of Cain. You also had other nations that were not named at that time as well. Okay, but they were multiple lines, which we talked about in another lesson before. That's why it says he called their name Adam, meaning that there was more Adam. They were all descendants of Adam, meaning they were all from the ground, because that's what Adam means. All these particular people derived from the ground. Okay, and then they bear children to them, to these same sons of men, sons of God. They bare these children, and the same became mighty men, which were of old, meaning from that time before the flood, men of renown, name and reputation. Okay, and after that fall, we see that because they fell, they began to fall away from the natural faith in verse 5. All right, and Yahweh saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and their every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Okay, and the only reason why this began to spread upon the earth is because the people that were supposed to rule in righteousness had fallen away, and it wasn't no angels that went about teaching mankind how to do these things. It was the wickedness that of man that began to rule the earth, okay, because of the fall of man during that time. The Nephilim, or the giants, as is written in the scriptures, which were known as the sons of God through Seth. So hopefully this is edifying. And again, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Ba'asham Yahawashi. Peace, mercy, and blessings be bound to the hopeful elect scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom.